first one is, so I don't forget, is I'm going to leave, write it as soon as we finish, because I'm going down to Oakland to go to to Jose's, our 9-year-old, his concert in Oakland. I'm looking forward to that. Second is there's a card over on the table there. Barbara Spain has entered hospice. It's a card for her. I spent a little time with her yesterday, and she's very clear, very grounded, very strong in her clarity. So, and I know that she knows that the Sangha is loving her and holding her, and a card or any of you online, anything you send her will of course be received with love.
Does she want visitors?
No. Yeah, no, she doesn't have the energy. Yeah, she's really she had very limited breath, and is maintaining herself with her, or hospice is maintaining her well with I don't want to say drugs, but with helping her. But yeah, no, she can't receive visitors. So other announcements. Thank you to Erica. Thank you to all of you. Erica, I've listened to her first talk on Tara, which is wonderful. If you haven't heard it, I'd highly recommend it. Erica is part of her practice is Tibetan practice, so she shares it from a very embodied place. I haven't had a chance to listen to her talk on the Medicine Buddha yet, but I look forward to it. And we also have up here beautiful tanka from Susan White, lent to us, that is just full of Buddhas. It's Buddha Land Buddha, and actually it's a medicine Buddha right in the center of it. Spent yesterday, a good portion of yesterday, a few of us setting up at the Sebastopol Center for the Arts the Jizo Peace Project, with all the little Jizos for children that have died in Palestine and Israel. The exhibit is called, at the Art Center, is called Resist, Persist, Social Injustice, and the opening is on Saturday from 2 to 4. There's a flyer up there. I don't know if they're going to let us do a ritual then, or if we might be able to do a little ritual if we gather at another time. We'll figure that out as we go. We did a little chanting as we set it up. It's hard to tell when it's your exhibit, of course you think. What a great exhibit. But the person who was setting it up said, and I think it's true, that there's a kind of luminosity that comes off of it. It lights up the corner where it is, because all those little Jizos with so much intent and love and care. And anyway, I hope you get to be with it, and that we'll continue to. It was great when we were down at Tassajara, which is also wonderful. We got to do a Jizo ceremony, and they want to make Jizos down at Tassajara, and there was someone there who was the head of a Sangha in Maine, and he's going to take it home and do it there. And so we just hope this just keeps spreading. Someone came yesterday who's going to mention it on KPFA, and it's so I guess fundamentally, having been at Tassajara and in the Caminata, the 3-day walk for immigrant justice, the thing that stays with me about both of them, very different. One is in a monastery deep in the mountains, and one was walking on the streets from Napa to Dublin, 15 hours a day, with many immigrants, and I would imagine many of them undocumented, so a great act of courage, and allies, an amazing support system of people that showed up, was goodness. I've been saying this, so maybe you've heard me say it, but I'll say it again, or something like this. Is it so I think it's so easy these days to feel discouraged with humanity and human beings. It's like, what is the matter with us? Why we can do better than this. And you know, it's like we're perfect just as we are, and we could use a little improvement. That in both circumstances, when community comes together with deep intention, there is so much natural kindness and goodness that happens. People take care of each other. People want to respond to each other. There's a natural impulse towards kindness and towards wisdom, which is not non-separation. So I'm here to report from the front lines of my experience is basic goodness is, and we all need to practice it moment after moment together for the sake of all beings. Last announcement that I can think of in this moment is June 28th, not this Sunday, but the following Sunday, is our all-day sit, and please come, because silent, upright sitting is there are a million different ways to practice. This isn't any better than any other one, although of course we think it is. No. It's just, but whatever we do, let's just do it wholeheartedly and all the way through. So a day of sitting is a gift for ourselves, for the world, and to share with each other. And we're working on the Pepperwood retreat on September, which I'm looking forward to.
Will that be camping?
That will be there are some rooms, some bunk rooms. And some camping or campers. So it's not luxurious, but the ground we're sitting on is rich and deep and fertile, ancient. Yeah, we'll send out more information soon.
And Bedhead Zazen is going on summer vacay and will return in mid-September. Details on the website, just in case somebody was like, I'm going to start coming in the summer. Sorry.
You have to get up by yourself and wait for September for the community to hold
It's
you.
our 6:15 morning meditation on the Zoom Zendo.
Yeah. And Debbie, and the regular morning
8 a.m. still rolling.
8 a.m. just goes on and on and on, and we are so we are so lucky. You know how lucky we are. Okay, so what I want to do today, what we did on Tuesday, is talk about Jataka, because we're focused on Bodhisattvas, and we've been doing the traditional archetypes, and now these next few weeks we're going to be stretching our view of Bodhisattvas and what are they and how does our tradition bring them forward. And so this week I'm talking about Jataka tales, which Jataka tales we've studied in the past. I can't remember when, how long ago, but probably if you're like me, you've forgotten everything. And here we are remembering again. And because Jataka tales are the story of how the Buddha became Buddha, of all the lifetimes of Buddha practicing as a bodhisattva in myriad forms to wake up and become Buddha. So that seems to me more than relevant, that we have these high, wonderful, shining bodhisattvas, and we have crows and monkeys and parrots and lions and all kinds of beings who are bodhisattvas waking up to be bodhisattvas all the time, and that's what these tales tell. So that's what I'm going to head us into. I'm going to begin with, this is the Jatakas, the birth stories of the Bodhisattva. Just going to read a little bit from the introduction. A Jataka is a story about birth, and this collection of tales is about the repeated births and deaths of the Bodhisattva, the being destined to become the present Buddha in his final life. Written in Pali, the language of the Theravadan Buddhist canon, the tales comprise one of the largest and oldest collections of stories in the world. That's cool. So other cultures just know this in Southeast Asia, and there's plays and there's music and there's and it's sort of like Aesop's tales in other parts of the world, the way it is in the West here. The earliest sections of verses are considered among the very earliest part of the Pali tradition and date from the 5th century BCE. The later parts were incorporated during the period up to the 3rd century CE. Partly because they arose at a time when literature was transmitted orally, and partly because storytelling tends to extemporize, the stories were shaped and developed over this period before the final version became settled. There are 547 stories, and they all evolve from one vow. The determination made by the Bodhisattva at the feet of the last Buddha, Dipankara, to postpone his own enlightenment and freedom from the endless round of existences until he is ready to become a Buddha himself and teach others. So Bodhisattvas just keep saying, I'm here. I'm just gonna. I have this idea of, I mean, who knows what it is, of like dying and looking down and feeling sadness and yearning and sort of part this is just my little story, and partly like, phew, that was a lifetime, and do I want to do that again? and then some deep heart quality just keeps saying yes. So you just keep coming back in other forms to be of help, and we're all here doing it, perfect and imperfect just as we are. Early Buddhists perceived the universe in their own image. Gods, people, animals speak with human voices in the stories and act with motives explained in human terms. The characters in Jatakas inhabit an intricately meshed network of almost familial relationships, which is just the truth of it. And my sense is indigenous peoples, this is probably more an animism, the way that people experience the world still, and is part of the truth of, is a truth of being alive. They are constantly interacting with each other, discussing their problems and giving advice on how to live. Beneath it all is the assumption that of the Jatakas that each being lives as an independent locus of consciousness, capable of choice and finding enlightenment for him or herself. We all have choice, moment after moment. That's, one might say, why we're here, to wake up with and for all beings. It was an unusual and even revolutionary idea at the time. After reading a few Jatakas, the universe seems very large, full of birds, cats, fish, and deer, unseen presences, and humans in all kinds of conditions, each with their own consciousness and destiny to fulfill. I just had this feeling of Congress, the Senate, all these different consciousnesses, each with their own choice and destiny to fulfill. And my guess is there's going to be some karmic rollout for a lot of us in many different ways from this time. That was my commentary, sorry. The great compassion of the Buddha in the stories is that he does not teach as an outsider separated from this living network. By describing himself in the past as Bodhisattva, he demonstrates his own participation in these conditions and gives hundreds of instances of how to be free within them. So they're teaching stories for each one of us about how to wake up from the inside. Not like I'm up above and I'm telling you what to do. I'm telling you what it's like to wake up on the ground in a particular form. I think that's wonderful. At the end of each story, he brings this understanding to the present and reveals his own identity. It is like walking into a Buddhist temple, past the stories of Jataka shown on the walls. In Buddhist temples in Southeast Asia, if you travel, the stories are there because it was all oral to begin with, and then because a lot of people still can't read in small towns, the teachings are all taught through pictures on the walls and through plays and music. Different selves lead in the end to a human form, the embodiment of stillness in the presence of many. This is the heart of each story too. The place of the Buddha, the knower of all worlds, free at last from any grasping or false ego or I-making at all. Free at last from any grasping after false ego or I-making at all. I was with Barbara yesterday. She's been saying gate, gate. Gate, gate, para, gate, parasam, gate, bodhisvaha. That's as a mantra to live with, but also to go out with. I reminded her, or told her, that when people die, in this tradition, there are many different rituals, but the heart of it is, well, one, you give the precepts, but most fundamentally is, if you're with someone, you say gate, gate 108 times. It's just a way to help someone remember as they're leaving this body and entering the great unknown. So now I have Rafe's Before Buddha Was Buddha. And I'm going to read you I read a Jataka tale on Tuesday, and here's another one. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here we go. The brave parrot, being small in a big, troubled world. The Buddha was once a little gray parrot. The one I gave on Tuesday, I'm still delighted. It says something about my sense of humor. So I'm still delighted in the one on Tuesday is a troublesome crow who just like it says the Bodhisattva is born in the womb of a crow. So it's like everybody's it's like look around. Who's teaching? I'm going to ask you that at the end. Who's teaching you? But there's a Bodhisattva crow and there's a real troublemaker crow. I have to say that I have great affection for the troublemaker crow and the Bodhisattva crow. Okay, so now we have a gray parrot. When lightning sets a tree ablaze and her forest begins to burn, the parrot cries out a warning to others. Fire! Run to the river. And then she flies towards the safety of the river and its other shore. But as she flies, she sees below her animals and trees already trapped, surrounded by flames. And suddenly, she sees a way to save them. This is in the story on Tuesday too, is there's a place where this particular crow understands their responsibility. There's something I can do here. And if there's something I can do here, then I need to do it. She flies to the river. The animals already huddled safely there are sure nothing more can be done. Each offers a valid reason for staying safely put where they are and not making further efforts. But the little parrot says she has spotted a way, so she must try. She wets her feathers in the river, fills a leaf cup with water, and flies back over the burning forest. Back and forth she flies, carrying drops of water. Her feathers become charred, her claws crack, her eyes burn red as coals. A god looking down sees her. Other gods laugh at her foolishness. But this god changes into a great eagle, flies down and tells her, as it's hopeless, to turn back. But she won't listen. I like that. She won't listen, but continues bringing drops of water. Seeing her selfless bravery, the god is overwhelmed and begins to weep. His tears put out the fire and heal all the animals, plants, and trees. Falling on the little parrot, the tears cause her charred feathers to grow back red as fire, blue as a river, green as a forest, and yellow as sunlight. She is now a beautiful bird. The parrot flies happily over the healed forest she has saved.
Hmm.
Go, little parrot. Let's see. Okay, here's some little commentary by Rafe. The brave little parrot Jataka embodies the central Bodhisattva vow of Mahayana Buddhism. To save, that is liberate all beings from suffering. What are we really doing here? We're liberating all beings from suffering. When we were down at Tassajara, they've started doing community meetings, and they do small group meetings, which we never did in our day. You know, it was just like you just go to the Zendo, you just and it's nice that they now understand that it's really helpful if you talk to each other, which is part of what we do. We laugh, but back then it was like that wasn't even on the chart. So why am I telling you that? Oh, because I had this chance encounter with a senior person on the path, and they were making lists. They were asked people to submit, what do you want to talk about in the community meeting? And this person said to me, they're all writing down things like, should you turn your flashlight on or off after a certain period of time at night? You know, that's that part of Zen where it's just like, how are we going to, I mean, and it's an important part of it, is how are we going to respect each other through the little rules, but you can get pretty rule bound because the forms can engender that. And the feeling is how do we get them to ask bigger questions? And it was so sweet because I heard after the meeting that's somehow that happened, that people started asking. They wanted to talk together about what is engaged Buddhism and how do we, and what are we really doing here, and how, so that this conversation continues and deepens, because the central the brave parrot Jataka embodies the central Bodhisattva vow of Mahayana Buddhism. What are we really doing here? To save, that is liberate all beings from suffering. As Mahayana Buddhists, we vow to free all who suffer in the bondage caused by ignorance of true nature. We also vow to release beings from the bondage we ourselves impose on them by our own inattention and ignorance, which also means we vow to liberate rivers, mountains, plants, oceans, animals, and fellow humans from the effects of exploitive social and economic systems. Saving all beings is the first of the 4 great vows for all, known to all aspiring Buddhas and Bodhisattvas past, present, and future. The 3 remaining vows are actualizations of the first. To let go of our own habitual greed, anger, and ignorance. What are we really doing here? Practicing letting go of our habitual greed, anger, and ignorance. To recognize everything we encounter as a potential Dharma gate opening into deeper understanding, and to wholeheartedly undertake the impossible task of fully embodying the ungraspable selfless way of the Buddha. In other words, in order to fulfill the great vow to save all, we must do the hard, one might even say impossible, work of waking up. What a great thing to do with a lifetime. What do you want to do with your lifetime? If you can think of something better to do with your lifetime, go do it. The little parrot in this Jataka finds herself at a crossroads. She is capable of saving herself, but recognizes this is not enough. At the beginning of the story, the parrot is content with her life. She has the gift of flight, after all. She is even happier at the end, having used her gift not just for her own sake, but to liberate others. Her own great vow has become that much more real. What does the parrot see that makes the way clear and undisguised? From high up, she sees how all is connected. Trees, rivers, mountains, from high up she sees far, but she sees beyond even that. She sees intimately and knows the forest as herself. This no-seeing is transformative. When the mind of the Bodhisattva is awakened, seeing is doing. The ancient grit of me and my that stands like a veil between our seeing and doing is gone, gone, completely gone, as the heart of perfect wisdom says. Bodhisattvas don't make escaping from the flames of this world the point of their practice. They live in the middle of the stream, flying daily over the burning forest, dipping into the cool waters of emptiness. They don't give up and they don't settle down saying, that's enough, I'll build my comfy nest here. They keep bringing what they can, a little talent, a little insight, a little water, as few and as tiny as those drops may be. Yet how each sparkles. There it is. There it is, cool and refreshing, then poof! It too is gone. Yet, says this old story, if we keep going, keep flying, keep practicing, things that logic can't predict can happen. Things that logic can't predict can happen. That's the joy of being together in community, is you're no longer in charge. You enter into a wholeness and things start happening that aren't linear at all. Who, after all, is the Bodhisattva? Does the story just recount an ancient exploit from Shakyamuni's personal route to Buddhahood? Look again. The beauty of Zen lies in this question. Who is the Bodhisattva? Our world is burning. Trees, animals, ecosystems, and social safety nets are being engulfed every day. The causes are exactly as the Buddha said 2,600 years ago: greed, anger, and ignorance of our own true nature. Our practice is not about inspecting our navels, simply trying to calm our distress. Brave parrots, if you love your forest, flap your wings. Find a way to the river and do not give up. When the chips are down and the last hand has been played, sometimes the inexplicable occurs. A god descends, clouds burst, tears fall, and suddenly all is whole and well. For a moment we become what we are and have always been, and then we can really get to work. What a great, encouraging story, and to know that these stories have been here for a long, long time. And the world is still a mess. And it's also a perfect Buddha field of awakening for all of us. So maybe we'll stay together instead of going into small groups. And I'm curious, the question that comes to me, but whatever arose out of this,